We've been talking about environmental change and with a focus on climate. So with climate change, it is important to incorporate young people, our boys and girls, into discussions and debates about the impact of climate change. And this is exactly what happens in environment-friendly schools. One of the purposes and focus of environment-friendly schools is to include the voice of young children into the discussions based on these issues and topics. One key factor to consider is these issues will affect these young people in the long run. They are not going to affect you and me as much. And so, incorporating these young people into these kinds of discussions is critical, especially children from marginalized communities. These are communities that are out of the bounds of the urban and rural, the far-flung areas, the distant locations, the locations that are difficult to reach. Those are the marginalized communities that need to be brought into the mainstream discussion of climate change and its impact. Throughout the world, children are becoming more involved in key environmental issues within their communities and effectively expressing their findings. So, we will see examples later in the discussion here of how children in their local communities are setting trends for environmental change, how they are focusing on what should be done, trying out what they think should be done. If the results are good, then the effects go out of the community and other areas also try out those factors. If not, they look at alternatives. You don't give up when you don't succeed. And this is something that we've learned from young children participating in the discussion and debates on environmental change. When young children focus on something, they want the solutions. So if solution A doesn't work, they will look at other alternatives. That is why it is important to involve young people into these kinds of discussions. Research from El Salvador and the Philippines, for example, have found that children engaged in child-led disaster risk reduction and adaptation activities at various levels. So you see examples here from two countries where it was child-led. The children actually led the measures to reduce the risk from disaster factors. And it worked. When it worked, other people from the society and the community picked it up and took it outside of the community of those children alone. So children are key. It is important that we understand that young people have a role to play. Young people can contribute. Young people do have thinking and understanding skills that can benefit others in the long run. At the local level, children initiated change through specific activities to prevent landslides, removing large rocks hanging above school buildings and planting stabilizing shrubbery on steep hills. One area where the children worked on was preventing landslides. Their schools were in areas where landslides were common. So how do you prevent landslides? The first thing they did was they removed the large rocks, because when large rocks fall, they create more damage and provide opportunities for greater hurt. Once the large rocks were removed, the next thing that they did was planting stabilizing shrubbery. Not just any old plants, trees, and shrubs, but shrubbery that would hold the rock and the soil in place so that landslides would be reduced. This calls for a lot of research, for a lot of work outside the class, for a lot of work beyond what classrooms and teachers can provide for. That is why young people need to be involved, because they are able to and willing to put in the extra time and effort that would be needed to find appropriate solutions. Children also raised awareness and initiated change in adults' behavior, identifying high-risk structures and increasing awareness about communal waste disposal. Taking these measures outside of the school community, these children focused on adult behavior. They talked to adults and incorporated changes within the behavior of the adults in the community. They identified structures that were at risk, why they were at risk, and how do you remove waste from the community. Garbage disposal was critical, and so the children initiated this and changed the mindsets and thinking of the adults. The children proposed significant changes that surpassed community boundaries, lobbied for effective law enforcement on legal logging and riverbed mining, and requested structural changes to schools and roads. So again, you see, this is child-led. Children facilitated, children initiated, and moved beyond the school boundaries. They lobbied for effective laws because laws are important. And when laws are important and the correct laws are in place and people follow the laws, the good things will automatically follow.